my name's Nate Johnson, and I'm the CEO and founder of GLCS, and this is the Driving Forward podcast. It's February 22nd, 2024, and I'm still trying to figure out where February went. Kind of a crazy day today in the news. Walmart is selling its intermodal division to JB Hunt, or at least that's the intention right now. And Flexport is launching the Convoy platform. So kind of a big news day today. Two major things that we've updated internally to our team. And I still haven't read up enough about those two things. I wanted to prior to the podcast launching today, but haven't done enough research there to be able to comment on both of those in great detail beyond just bullet points. But I thought it was a heck of a news day and wanted to bring both of those up coming out of the gate. Today we have Evan Shelley on from Truck Parking Club. He's the CEO and co-founder of Truck Parking Club. Somebody I've known here now for, well, I think I met Evan last summer at the Jamboree in Walcott. So, but thanks for coming on, Evan. I appreciate it. So where are you? Where is Truck Parking Club in the world today? You guys get all over the place.
Yeah, so the podcast studio today is the van. We're in Southwest Florida. Actually stopped by some locations this morning. And we're in between a couple conferences. We just got done with NATSO, National Association of Truck Stop Operators, and we're headed to the Florida Trucking Show, which starts, I believe, setup starts tomorrow. So we're in Florida right now.
Well, and just handing out that Truck Parking Club cash left and right, I imagine.
Yeah, for sure. I got some right here.
So yeah, that's a go figure. I think I have probably about $20,000 or $30,000 of it hanging around the house here too. So,
cool.
But fair enough. You guys are getting after it, and I hear just shortly after this podcast, you're going in the air to hunt for more parking spaces. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, flying up in a helicopter, looking for more truck parking. So it's we randomly got invited to do it while we're here in Florida, and yeah, we're gonna go up and have a good time and look for some truck parking here in Florida.
Oh, that's awesome. That's sounds like an experience. So that's great. So it's been a while since anybody's really talked to you about your journey. You're a younger man. You're just approaching what I would say is middle-aged, even though you're barely approaching middle-aged. But so a while ago, I think I learned about your history. But why don't we dive into that a little bit? Tell us your story. How did let's go back to school, even, college a little bit. Tell us the Evan Shelley origin story.
Yeah. So, always been interested in real estate, started buying property at a young age, 18 years old. I believe I bought my first property at 18, and really it stemmed from my grandpa owned some rental property, typical small landlord, owned some mobile homes in Kentucky, and that sparked my interest. And then I went out and found partners and would find great deals, and then the partner would put up the money, and then we'd buy the house, and I still own those houses today. So that spurred kind of my, I guess, entrepreneurial interest. I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur. I just thought real estate was interesting, and thought it was a good opportunity to be, financially free and making money that way. So then I go buy some properties in my teens, and then go to college, and was a golfer. Got recruited to go to a small Division III school in Lexington, Kentucky called Transylvania University. We were a very good golf team, but I ended up really focusing a lot on school actually, and didn't focus on golf as much, which ended up being the I believe the right decision. But it really enjoyed my time there playing golf and got a degree in liberal arts and a degree in civil engineering. So did a double major, and that civil engineering ended up preparing me for a lot of the things that became very useful for me in real estate and ultimately in truck parking. And so when I got out of school, I worked for some general contractors um, and site developers and learned about construction and real estate development, and I did that for, I don't know, 18 months total. And I was at a very good company, had great coworkers and everything, but I just wasn't happy. I knew there was something more for me to do. And I guess at the time I was 22 or 23 years old. I'm 29 now. Um, and I decided to go out and start flipping houses as my source of income. So I left the corporate world, left a stable job, and just started flipping houses in Florida, to try to figure it out. So I took a pretty, I guess, big risk back then, and I ultimately did figure it out and flipped, 50 or so houses in my time, and then I started going into large commercial land deals. So think, like one deal I did, I took a piece of agricultural land and rezoned it into 300 apartments and then sold it to a developer. And ultimately, deals like that. I had an industrial property under contract in Central Florida, and that's when I found out about truck parking. This is 2021. Um, I figured out after talking with brokers and other investors that there was a significant issue with truck parking because there wasn't enough of it, and the demand continued to increase. And that sparked really a journey in 2021 where I had that piece of industrial property. The assumption was I could put truck parking on it. I figured out from the municipality that they would not support truck parking, even though it was
Right.
zoned industrial. And that's where I got super interested in the space. It's like, what is going on here? If there's not enough, I mean, it's supply demand imbalance, which then results, in significant, burden on the driver because the cost goes up, right? Just it's just classic macroeconomics. And so from that particular deal, I started talking to stakeholders in the industry in truck parking and transportation logistics. Just started reaching out to some, of key players and asking, what is going on here, and should I go, should I go out and buy more? Should I go out and build and develop truck parking because that's my background, right? And so that was where my mindset was at the time, was go buy it, raise a bunch of capital, which I did, and go buy existing real estate or develop more. And ultimately exploring that avenue, I realized it is extremely hard to scale to a national brand and have a significant number of locations. I think the largest owner of truck parking in the U.S. that's focused on truck parking specifically is like 50 locations, and that took a
Mhm.
decade. And there's some of these other guys that are aggregating, building, and developing truck parking now, and the biggest players in kind of this new generation of truck parking guys, I think may have 30 locations. So extremely cumbersome to scale out to a national brand, takes a lot of time. So ultimately, I decided that the best, really, I guess it happened. I have a friend that's in technology space, and we were having lunch because he had just raised a bunch of money for a metaverse project, and I told him what I was thinking and like what I was working on, and he looks over at a parking lot beside us and he goes, "Couldn't you just park a truck right there?" And me being a real estate guy at the time, I was like, "No, no, we want to build it." Like I just blew it off.
Right.
And ultimately that was a very smart statement by him, and I think probably subconsciously kind of sparked a thought of, maybe there's something there. And the more I went down the path, the more it just made sense to leverage technology in existing space. Um, so that's, ultimately how from high school up to where I am now. All these things kind of came together between, the degree I chose and having an interest in real estate and coming across certain real estate deals that ended up getting me interested in truck parking. It all kind of just came together. I've just been very lucky to for it all kind of fall into place to where we are now.
And really over the last year or two, you guys, from a marketing aspect, from your messaging, from how you interact with drivers, from industry events, you guys have kind of become, for lack of better term, the sweetheart of the industry to some aspects. Like everybody likes interacting with you guys. I see. So my better half wears a truck parking shirt or truck parking club shirt every night around the house. So, um, you know, so this and you see it everywhere. You have Dooner wearing a sweatshirt. You have, I mean, so you guys are everywhere. And was that intentional at first? I mean, obviously you can say yes, but I mean, you guys have really been targeted now, but you wound that up in a way that has really in perfection. So, first of all, kudos to you on that. But how did you navigate that? I mean, can you talk about your marketing a little bit?
Yeah, I think we had to make a conscious decision early on. Are we going to, do the whole stealth mode, um, stealth startup type approach, which is, kind of build out the product and everything, then do like a bring to market, or just be everywhere all the time from the very beginning and talk to everyone and just kind of be, we're all about truck parking and everything we do, literally everything. And so it was a conscious decision by me very early on. I kind of went against my nature of doing, let's do kind of the stealth startup that kind of grows into something more public. And I just decided, hey, we're a marketplace at the end of the day where we connect truckers to truck parking, and great marketplaces have great marketing. So we just put it all out there, and you know, a lot of the things we do has been conscious decisions actually of just talking over it with the team and our marketing team and saying, yeah, that's an interesting direction. Let's try that out. Let's, you know, so we've put together, a really solid team. I would not, be here without being very fortunate to have a great team and marketing team that's put all this together. But to answer your question, it's just it's I think for our particular business, this is not true for every business, but for a business like ours, a truck parking marketplace, we have to be great at marketing. We to get the word out there and to grow the marketplace extremely fast, and that's really what we've done. We're at 267 locations, um, and not so long ago we were at 40 or something. So
Right.
and we had new locations every single day, but we really leaned into marketing, and we decided we're going to be everywhere all the time. Um, and I think, for the most part, we're executing on that. We continue to look for new and innovative ways to even turn it up a notch.
Oh, that I get that message entirely. We're at GLCS, we're coming up on 8 years old, and for many years we did not actively market. We were very passive, and that was largely, we were a smaller team of people, and we were worried about uh, growing too fast. And in the last year, we decided it's time for us to be loud, and it's time for us to grow. We've got a model. Let's go. And so in September, October, that happened. And so, we're behind on you guys, but we're kind of everywhere now. I think this year it's 7 shows between February and May. Actually, I think we just increased it by a few, so we might be more like 8 or 9 shows by May, and then we have more that we're going to in June. But yeah, you have to put yourself out there to be seen, and the more you're seen, the more people are going to adopt you. You guys have a great social media presence as well. You interact with people. Speaking of that, how did you meet Hunter? How did that start?
Yeah, so it's crazy. I mean, I grew up in the same small town as Hunter, and we started doing real estate deals. Like I mentioned earlier, he was one of those investors early on that threw in some money and for us to buy some property, and we were very successful at that, and we've always just been extremely close friends, about really a brother. And it just luck, being born, in the same town, and him, you know, interesting enough, when we started, I started the company. I told him about what I was doing. He's like, "That seems like a really good idea," and I was like, "Yeah, you should get involved somehow." He's like, "Yeah, maybe," and then maybe 3 or 4 months went by, and the business took off, and I'm like, Hunter, you better get on the boat because we're headed out.
Yeah,
I was like, dude, now's the time if you're gonna do this. And so he came in and brought his, kind of flair and charisma to the company, and really he's become the face on a lot of the social media platforms, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. If you look up Truck Parking Club on those, you're gonna see almost all Hunter. And
right.
and he ties in really, really well, that, as it's genuinely him. He's not putting on a show. Like, well, he is putting on a show, right? But that is him.
That's him. He
That's
is the
like,
show. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
He is
yeah,
the show. He's like that every time I met him. So
yeah,
he's larger than life. So
yeah. That's him. He's a special person for sure.
absolutely. Well, that's good to know. I didn't know that you guys went back that far. So that's
Yeah, crazy, crazy,
uh
crazy. Yeah,
awesome. So recently you were on, and you and Chris were on we met briefly, what, a week and a half ago. We went live on something, but you and Chris Thomas were out for 8 days, and that was your first time out over the road with someone, or was it not?
yeah. That was the first time
Okay.
out over the road. Yeah, and we kind of just came up with the idea. I think I think it might have actually been on like a live show. We were just hanging out talking, I think Logistics Lounge or something, and he starts talking about it, and I was like, well, if you can get a load out to Manifest, uh, I'll cover your ticket. And I didn't expect him to actually do it. But I'm
Yeah.
happy. I'm so happy he did.
Right.
But I didn't expect him. I figured he'd be like, it'd be one of those things where it's like, yeah, yeah, we'll see, and then just nothing ever comes of it. But he texted me like the next day. He's like, man, I found a load, and so it was amazing. So he comes out, and like I'm like, that's awesome. And then he's like, do you want to just hop in the truck? This was like the week before or something. I was like, sure, let's just do it.
Yeah.
See what happens. And when I got in the truck with him, we had no determined, like, I didn't have a set day that I was gonna leave. It was just like, let's just see what happens
Let's
here.
just
And it
go.
kind of yeah, and it just kind of fell into place. It ended up being 8 days, and I had to go to the Natso show. So it was great, and he's a world class guy. He really is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the interesting story with Chris is I was going to F3 back in November, and I was looking through the attendees of F3, and I saw owner operator from Autumn Transport. And I happen to know a few people from Autumn Transport on their operations, and just that's a Minnesota carrier, and I'm from Minnesota. So I reached out to the people at Autumn Transport, and I said, you guys have an owner operator going to F3. What's up with that? And, does the guy want to meet people, or what's the story? And they go, oh yeah, it's Chris. He's been here a long time. Apparently he's with a network of people. And then I figured out he was hanging with Reed. And so either way, I sought Chris out at F3, and I introduced myself to him there. And I think he was the first guest on Driving Forward. So he was our first guest on the show. And I just consider him absolutely top notch across the board, not only as a owner operator, driver, but as a general human being. His insight
100%.
on things, just there. As soon as I heard he was coming to Manifest, I said, "Hey man, you got to come to our Top Golf event." So he came out and hung out with us for a while, and that was nice. And I was just, super proud of him, because back at F3, he was talking. We talked a little bit about what imposter syndrome, and he was wondering how to use these tools he was given, which is, how does he put his voice out there and whatnot. And he's done such a great job with that. So, circling back on your trip with Chris, what were kind of your major takeaways from that 8-day trip?
Yeah, I would say one of the most interesting things that came out of it was, I made a post about this the other day. One night we genuinely got to a point where we're like, ooh, I don't know if we're gonna find any, safe, suitable, parking for us. And it became an odd thing where we didn't have any locations within a few hours. We're right off of I-80 at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And Chris was like, I could see he was looking. I thought that's what he was doing, looking for parking, but he didn't say anything to me. And he was kind of looking around, like behind, like we were going down this highway just off of I-80, and he was looking around. He didn't say what he was doing, but I could see him looking like behind restaurants and stuff. And he found just like this little honey hole with a couple other trucks parked there, that wasn't a formal truck parking location, but it didn't say no truck parking or anything, and it felt relatively safe. But we went up to the Sap Brothers, and he was fueling up, and he goes, if there isn't parking right back there behind that restaurant over there, we're gonna be in a weird spot, because he's like, everything is full. And I was like, yikes. And so we're like, doing everything we can, Googling, and just, I was looking around, and I was like, wow, this is weird. And ultimately, there was like one or two spots behind that, like mom and pop restaurant, and we got parked, and it was absolutely fine. There wasn't any issues, but I was just like, wow, this is wild. Just to be in the scenario, and
Yeah.
um,
What in the
the
scenario
mental side of it.
you're working to solve? Yeah. So it's good to see. I mean, I'm glad I read that post, and in the back of my head, I was thinking it's good for you to see the scenario, or be in the scenario that you're solving. So,
Yeah.
so now you get to feel it.
Yeah.
Back when I drove, which was a long time ago, we didn't have this problem in the same factor. You'd have it on the Northeast, in and around the large cities, New York, New Jersey, and that was even rare. So you could always typically find truck parking. You didn't have it the same way that you have it now. So, it might take you a little bit of time to find a parking space, but you would have found a spot. So if you were in a
Yeah.
major city, you might have a little bit of an issue, but you could always find something. And today, especially if you're in, the further east you move, the more likely you're going to have a problem. So it's certainly an issue. And then, as you had said earlier, the not in my backyard mentality of the American public, where you can't build parking. No one wants it in their town.
Yeah.
is an issue. So the idea of being able to build the infrastructure to handle the issue is difficult, even though I think some states are coming forward with some incentivized cash to solve the problem now, but we'll see how that all plays out. So
Yeah. So, to be clear, we're totally for free parking. It's not a it's interesting because it's not doesn't really affect our business as much as you would think having free parking, because a lot of um, guys will use our lot because they need to drop a trailer or drop a trailer and bobtail out or leave their tractor trailer or all these things. So it's actually, what we've really become is just another tool for a driver to use. Like, it would have been fantastic that one night if we had had a location in the immediate area, but we just didn't. I'm sure we will in the near future, but um, it's uh, you know that federal and state money that's coming out is one part of the solution, right? There's several $100 million going toward that. I think the only thing I see with that is the inefficiencies of using federal dollars to build infrastructure for
right,
truck parking. I believe it's a couple $100,000 a space is kind of where the numbers fall. I saw one the other day was $500,000 per space, whereas for example, um, in the last couple weeks, we've added nearly, I believe, 400 never publicly available truck parking spaces. We did that in a couple weeks. If you run out those numbers, 400 spaces times 200,000, that's a huge number, right? And we
right.
did that. We did that for essentially zero compared to the $80 million that it would take in federal dollars. So um, it's just a different avenue. It's a different approach. And ultimately, it's the private sector contributing to helping to solve a problem.
Well, and it's land that's not being used efficiently today by someone, and they're looking to use it efficiently, right? I
Yeah,
mean, that's
exactly.
really the use cases. I have 10 spaces, 20 spaces, X amount of spaces that I'm willing to rent out for whatever period of time, and that makes sense. So lots of companies have lots of extra spaces in their yard that are not applicable. Maybe they're going to use them later, but they're not using them now. And we certainly see that all the time at a lot of our customers too. I mean, you pull into a yard, they used to have 300 trucks, then now they only have 200 trucks, and there's a lot of parking spots that are open.
Yeah.
So I suppose I need to make sure they call you. So
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. They have a referral program. So,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah.
Are you finding, so most of the time, are you finding that people are working with you for long term? Like when they park at a particular place, are they parking there just overnight and dropping the trailer or leaving the truck, or are they using it more like a replacement for truck stop parking?
Yeah, so overwhelming majority is short term. Average booking is 2 to 3 days. Um, we get a lot of overnight or 10-hour type stays as well. But and then we do have guys that'll book weekly and monthly, but that's not our core business model. Um, so really skews more toward shorter term, using it when they need it. And what we, say is it can be 267 personal terminals for owner operators to leverage that they didn't have access to before. Ultimately, making them more money because they have more options with moving trailers and things of that nature. So it's cool to see drivers use it in that manner and make their lives a little bit easier and hopefully make them a lot more money.
Yeah, that gives me a lot of interesting thoughts. We'll have to talk about that at another time. So it
Yeah.
gives me some ideas. Circling back to the Chris Thomas trip, so you had a major takeaway. You had that scenario where you Um, you had to find some parking. What would you say positively impacted you on that trip? Obviously, you had your interaction with Chris, and you were positively impacted there. And we interacted a little bit on LinkedIn. But what kind of industry wise, what would you say were your positives off of that 8-day trip that you took with Chris?
Yeah, so I think it just brings a new level of respect to truckers and the lives that they lead on a daily basis, and just seeing that grind, every single day. I mean, Chris is a world-class guy, and an amazing owner operator. So he is very efficient in planning trips and pre-tripping, and he really knows all the roads at this point, being a driver for 18 years. So he didn't, he has a lot of those things ironed out in his daily
Right.
processes, right? So things typically go pretty smoothly. But even someone like him, we experienced truck parking issue at one point there, but it's just continued to like up my level of consciousness on like what's going on for truckers on a daily basis, and just kind of living it there for 8 days, and seeing that, and you're just like, wow. I mean, these guys, they're, it's cowboys, it's
Yeah.
it's it's really wild. It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing what these guys, put up with, and do. And yeah, that I would just say, just experiencing that, and kind of reshaping like my perspective on what drivers go through.
No, I can appreciate that. How did you feel? So you got to experience something that very few people get to experience, including drivers. And that was you got to leave from the West Coast and go to the East Coast, and then actually technically the Southeast.
Yeah.
How did you feel as you were going across, and the terrain changed and the traffic changed and the driving attitude changed?
Yeah.
So speak to
Yeah,
that a little bit.
that's a great question. So, we left Vegas and went up to Reno. It's a beautiful drive up, I believe it's Highway 95. And I believe it's Walker Lake, beautiful views there. And then we ended up rolling into, we ended up, just because of the load that we had to go get, going through a lot of very beautiful areas of Wyoming. Just
Right. Grand
incredible.
Tetons up through, yeah,
Oh
over
yeah,
north
it
of
was
Yellowstone, I saw. Yeah.
it was incredible, man. I'd never been through there, and I can't remember all the mountain ranges and the lakes and everything we passed by, but we got super lucky. There was probably 2 or 3 feet of snow on the ground, but we had absolutely perfect weather. Sun was out, no clouds, just amazing weather. Roads were completely clear, like no issues at all. I mean, I think we hit the, we got very lucky with that. We had absolutely no weather issues, but beautiful. Wyoming, wow, it's incredible. I didn't understand how beautiful it was. And so we kept rolling east on 80. And yeah, I mean, as you start going east, all these, more, you start seeing more and more traffic, more and more cars and congestion, and driving habits, appear to be a little more aggressive as you come east. And then you get into like the Chicago area, and yeah, it's real, driving that big truck through there. Chris makes it look easy, but I know, understand it's not. Um, and yeah, you just have to deal with the madness that comes with it.
Yeah, all the stuff flying around, and all the cars whipping around you, and it's there's a lot going on in comparison to being in the West, where you kind of point, put the cruise on, and sail. Yeah, I mean, honestly, though, the Wyoming side, that's some pretty technical driving, and you guys went on a tour trip there, so that probably tested the skill set running the way that you guys went. I saw some pictures of where you were at. So having quite a few miles on myself, I know that, and I know that area. Yeah, that was some interesting driving, I'm sure, for Chris on a whole different level other than traffic. So
Yeah.
was that your first time in Wyoming? Had you ever been there before?
Yeah, I believe that was my first time. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'd never seen those amazing views. Like it was really incredible.
That's one of my favorite areas of the country. I feel like that area of the country, when you spend some time there, there's places where you can say, wow, I was there, and I'm taking a piece of that home with me. And when you spend time in that area of Wyoming, you kind of leave a piece of yourself there. So I spent 2 weeks there a few years ago with my oldest son, and we did some hiking and spent lots of time with nature, and when you leave, you're just like, I need to figure out how to get back here. So
Yeah,
and I haven't been back there yet, but we'll get back there sometime soon. But and I'm not going back in the winter, I can guarantee you that. But even in the summer, it's still a little chilly there. So, but it's absolutely beautiful country.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
so where is, and I know we have about 8 minutes left. I know you got to go hit a helicopter. So
Yeah.
so let's hit this one because I got a video lined up. But you are bringing Dooner to Matt's. I think you guys have sponsored to bring Dooner over to Matt's, so that should be fun.
Yeah.
I saw that on LinkedIn, and then I see you're going to be on the show tomorrow with Chris and Will Jenkins. And this was, he does these like face over videos from time to time, and I think they're kind of funny. But this one is hands down the funniest one I've ever seen. Maybe it's because I know everybody, but I got to play this. So I typed it, and sorry, Dooner, I'm giving you full credit for this one. So this is all Timothy Dooner.
Drop back.
Drop dead. I've been on this gig for 3 months. All right, I'm going around.
We're out of our jurisdiction, Tango.
So I showed that to Bain earlier and my sales team, and we were all busting up pretty good. So,
So funny. That's the first time I actually watched it. Yeah.
That's good. That's a good one. So I enjoyed that. So, but so shows coming up for Truck Parking Club. You guys are in Florida for the next two shows. Are you just keeping it going, just show after show after show, or what do you have coming up?
Yeah, so trying to think here. So we're going to Florida Trucking Show. We were just at NATSO. And before that we were, out in Vegas with Manifest and Roadies. And I believe I go back to Chattanooga for a couple days and then head out to TPM.
Okay.
I believe it's in LA. That it's supposed to be a really good intermodal conference. Just kind of going out there and creating more connections, kind of in the core intermodal space. So TPM, and I don't I don't know. I guess it would be Matt's.
Okay.
I feel like I probably have something in there that I'm not thinking about, but really the next thing's on our list: Florida Trucking Show, and then TPM.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So where is Truck Parking Club outside of shows? What's kind of on your agenda next? You're just going to keep taking over the world, 267 locations and climbing, or do you have some interesting things coming out beyond expansion?
Yeah, so I mean, main thing, and I have to remind myself and the team is let's stay focused on building out the number of locations and the number of spaces, and specifically number of never publicly available spaces, and just doing everything we can to accelerate that is really the biggest focus. We have a fully self-service app, and we complement that with 24/7 customer service, and we continue to update and improve the app on a daily basis. We have a really strong tech team. You don't ever really hear me talking about the tech side of things, but we have a very strong tech team, and they've done an awesome job with our app, and we're constantly updating it for user experience, a better user experience, and just staying focused on that. I mean, at the end of the day, all we can control is adding more truck parking spaces and making sure our customers have a great experience. And outside of that, we really try to just not worry about the things we can't control, and ultimately going down, into rabbit holes on all these other things we could chase, right? Like, I mean, it's pretty often I get asked, when are you going to start selling services? And it's like, well, we're just really focused on truck parking right now. And so I have to constantly keep us, aligned on, like, let's just go out and find more truck parking as quickly as possible and make sure our customers have a great experience when they use Truck Parking Club.
No, that sounds wise. I continually tell people, if you are busy with your core product, stick with your core product. When you find that you're not busy with your core product, that's when it's time to diversify. So,
Yeah.
but if you can't keep up with your core product, and you're growing at the pace that you're growing, there's no reason for diversifying. And really, you guys don't have a whole lot of competition in your space, and if there is, they're just starting up that I'm aware of. So you guys are definitely owning that right now. So so certainly kudos to you. So where can everybody reach you?
You can go to truckparkingclub.com. We have all of our social media links in the footer of the site. Anybody out there just curious about Truck Parking Club in general, you can call our 1-800 number. It's 888-899-PARK. Call in and talk to our customer service, made up of former truckers. Ask them anything you want to ask them about the business. I think we have a world-class customer service team, made up of former drivers. And also I'm active on LinkedIn, a little bit on X. So if you want to shoot me a message, you can shoot me a message on there.
No, I appreciate you coming on, Evan. I look forward to future conversations. Well, I'll be at Matt's, I'll be at TCA, so we'll be seeing you there. Obviously, we can interact in any other way, shape, or form too. So definitely looking forward. It's always a pleasure. I think am I hearing Broker Carrier Summit too for you, or was that?
It's on my calendar. Yeah, it's on my calendar.
That's awesome. So we're going to be there in a big way as well too. So, but I really appreciate you coming on. You have any questions for me, feel free to reach out anytime, and we'll let you get to your chopper. Get to the chopper.
Yeah,
so
get to the chopper.
Get to the chopper. So, all right, man. Well, thanks a lot for coming on, and take care.
Yeah, thanks, Nate. Have a good one.
Yep.
Bye.
You too. All right. Well, once again, thanks a lot to Evan Shelley for being on today. That was very insightful. It's been a while since I heard his background. Coming up for GLCS, March 14th, we are going to have a Minneapolis transportation social hour at the Green Mill Restaurant in Bloomington, Minnesota at 5:30 p.m. We'll get a announcement out on LinkedIn. This just came up. We've been working on it. This just came up today, so all I've got is verbals at this point. But it'll be March 14th, Bloomington, Minnesota at 5:30 p.m. Myself, Robert Bain, a couple other people from GLCS. I believe Matt Dahl is going to be there, and we're working on a few other folks as well. And whoever else wants to come from transportation logistics or technology, I think we're going to target, 30, 40 people. I think we can go above that, but we'll get out an invite of some kind or some sort of tracker so we don't completely overwhelm the place. Once again, we'll probably have to cap it at some number, but if we get 10 people, we'll be happy. If we get 40 people, we'll be happy. If we get 200 people, we probably have a problem. But March 14th is that. Following that, we'll be at MATS, we'll be at TCA, we'll be at TIA, we'll be at the Broker Carrier Summit, we'll be at NTTC, we'll be at a whole bunch of other stuff in June. So for the Broker Carrier Summit, we do have a promo code of GLCS. It is a 10% off discount. There you go. You see it in the banner. So with that all being said, we're going to wrap up this episode of Driving Forward, Season 2, Episode 8. I think this is our 17th episode now. So kind of crazy. We've done between 17 driving forwards and maybe 16 Tuesday trips now. So it's constantly climbing, but quite a bit of time invested into this. We get a lot of engagement. We appreciate everybody watching. So we'll wrap this one up. Stay curious, stay informed, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Until next time, drive forward with purpose and innovation. Thanks for watching.